I am Gitanjali Garg. Today we discuss about the assessment of posture in standing position. That means anterior aspect, posterior aspect and lateral aspect. Now question arise, what is posture? Posture is the attitude assumed by body either with support during muscular inactivity or by means of coordinated action of many muscles working to maintain stability. Posture can be either static or dynamic. Static posture. In static posture, body and its segments are aligned and maintained in certain positions. Dynamic posture. Dynamic posture refers to posture in which body or its segments are moving. Posture can be categorized into two categories: ideal posture or faulty posture. Ideal posture, any position in which minimal stress is applied to each joint. And faulty posture, any static position that increases stress to joints is called faulty posture. Causes of faulty posture: several anatomical features may affect ideal posture. The anatomical factors are bony contours, for example hemivertebrum, laxity of ligament structure, facial and muscular tendinous tightness, muscle tonus, pelvic angle, joint position. These all factors may be enhanced or cause additional problems when combined with pathological or congenital problems such as Klippel-Feil syndrome, juvenile kyphosis, scoliosis, or disc disease. Now, what is plumb line? Plumb line represents line of gravity. It is vertical line drawn from the body's center of gravity to within the body's base of support. Now, how to assess the posture? Observation. Observation is primary method of assessing posture and should be included in every assessment. Looking for asymmetrical changes that may contribute to or be the result of faulty posture. Adequately undressed. To assess posture correctly, patient must be undressed. Male patient should be in shorts and female patient should be in bra and shorts. Patient should be with barefoot. It should not wear shoes or stockings. Assess the patient with walking aids if used. If a patient uses walking aid, braces, orthotics should be noted and may be used after the patient has been assessed in natural state to determine the effect of appliances. Examine in habitual and relaxed posture that usually adopt. Examiner should first determine body type. Three body types are ectomorphic, mesomorphic and endomorphic. Ectomorphic is a person who has thin body build. Mesomorphic has muscular body build. Endomorphic has a heavy or fat body build. Examiner assess patient in a systematic way, either superior to inferior or inferior to superior. Do not inform patient you are assessing posture so that the subject must assume comfortable and relaxed posture. Compare bilaterally for symmetry. Now, ideal posture alignment in posterior view. Head. The line of gravity passes through the middle of head. Observe head should be facing forwards with no lateral flexion and rotation. Now, ear level. Observe it should be at same level. Uneven ear height could suggest that your client has her head tilted to one side with the laterally flexed cervical spine. Lateral flexion of neck can result from shoulder muscle on the side to which the neck is flexed. For example, if head is tilted to right, the upper fibers of trapezius may be tight on that side, as might the right levator scapulae, right sternocleidomastoid and right scalene muscles. Neck. Observe neck should appear straight with no lateral flexion. Now shoulder. Observe height of shoulder should be approximately level. However, shoulder of dominant hand may be lower than shoulder of non-dominant hand. Shortening in levator scapulae and upper fibers of trapezius may contribute to one shoulder appearing higher than the other. Clients with neck pain may subconsciously elevate their shoulder protectively in an attempt to reduce their discomfort. Scapulae. Observe the scapulae should be equidistant from the spine. Scapulae should lie flat against the ribcage with no anterior tilting. Inferior angle of scapulae should be level with no evidence of elevation, depression or scapular rotation. In this picture we can see distance between the middle border of scapulae and spine, and in another picture we can see level of the inferior angles of the scapulae. Next, thorax. Observe, is it straight or is there any evidence of scoliosis? In first picture it is normal posture and second picture shows the scoliosis. Now upper limbs. Observation, the arms should hang equidistant from the trunk, palms facing the sides of the body, elbow should be level, wrists should be level. Arm on the side showing greater space is abducted more. Could be supraspinatus, deltoid or both muscles be shorter than these corresponding muscles of opposite shoulder. Now elbow position. Observe, it is useful for two reasons. First, whether or not the elbows are level often ties in with whether the client has dropped or elevated shoulder or is lateral flexed to one side. Second, observe the position of elbow can help you assess whether the client is internally rotated at the glenohumeral joint. Internal rotators of humerus such as subscapularis, pectoralis major, teres major might be shortened. Hand position. Shortening of supinatus or pronatus in elbow, wrist or both could also alter the position of hand in standing. Now lumbar spine. Observe, lumbar spine should be straight with no curvature to right or left. Pelvis and thighs. Line of gravity passes through gluteal cleft of buttocks and should be equidistant from posterior superior iliac spine. Observe, posterior superior iliac spine should be equidistant from the spine and be level. Greater trochanter of femur should be level. Buttock creases should be level and equal. Left and right posterior superior iliac spine should be positioned on the same horizontal line. Yet observe when to be higher. This suggests that pelvis is laterally tilted. As we see in picture, first picture shows a normal posture and second and third picture shows the leg length discrepancy. It can be due to the right femur longer or tibia longer. Second picture clearly shows right femur is longer, which cause the leg length discrepancy, and third picture shows the tibia longer, which cause the leg length discrepancy. In all pictures, knee creases of this person are equal. Next, knee and legs. Observation, the legs should be straight and equidistant from the plumb line with no genu varum or genu valgus. Calf muscles should be equal on left and right legs. If posterior knee seems more deeply creased than normal, this could indicate client is standing with flexed knee. If posterior knee is prominent with the popliteus muscle seeming to protrude slightly, this could indicate that client is hyperextending at this joint. Next, ankle and foot. The line of gravity passes between the ankle, equidistant from the medial malleoli. Observation, Achilles tendon can help provide information about excessive ankle eversion or inversion. Client with excessive eversion, sometimes popularly referred to as overpronation, may have shortened proneal muscles on that leg. In this picture we can illustrate. The second picture is normal posture. First and third is indicates calcaneo valgus and calcaneo varus. Observe variety of shapes of Achilles tendon, position of calcaneus, position of ankle joints, itself and foot position chosen by patient when undergoing postural assessment. In calcaneo valgus and calcaneo varus, you can easily see malleoli. Observation: the medial malleolus is superior to lateral malleolus. Observe in these pictures. From figure we can illustrate how malleoli and calcaneal bones change position when person has pes valgus or pes varus. In pes valgus, medial malleolus appears superior to position of medial malleolus in normal foot, and the lateral malleolus appears inferior to lateral malleolus of normal foot. The talus and calcaneus slope inwards away from the midline of leg with ankle eversion. This indicates weakness in muscles that produce supination of foot. In pes varus, the medial malleolus appears inferior to position of medial malleolus in normal foot, and the lateral malleolus appears superior to lateral malleolus of normal foot. The talus and calcaneus slope outwards with the ankle inversion. This indicates weakness in the muscle that produce pronation of the foot. Now, ideal posture alignment in lateral view. Head position. Observation: head should appear. The head should appear positioned over the thorax, neither pushed forwards with chin out nor pulled back. Observe: cervical spine should have a normal lordotic curve that is neither exaggerated nor flattened. There should be no deformity at the cervicothoracic junction such as Dowger's hump. Dowger's hump describes a raised area in C7 and T1 junction, often observed in postmenopausal women due to the osteoporosis. Shoulder position. Observation: shoulder should be neither internally rotated or externally rotated. Thorax and scapulae. The line of gravity lies anterior to thorax. There should be normal kyphotic curve in this region that is neither exaggerated nor flattened. The chest should be held comfortably upright and not excessively elevated as in military posture or nor depressed. Lumbar spine. The line of gravity lies posterior to the lumbar spine. Observe: the lumbar spine should have a normal lordotic curve that is neither exaggerated nor flattened. Lordotic curve leads to the anterior pelvic tilting. In the first picture shows a normal lumbar spine, and the second picture shows the anterior pelvic tilting, that means exaggerated lordosis, while third picture shows posterior pelvic tilting and a flat back. Next, pelvis and thighs. Observe: pelvis should be in a neutral position, that means anterior superior iliac spine is in same vertical plane and pubis. Anterior superior iliac spine and posterior superior iliac spine approximately in same plane. There should be no anterior or posterior pelvic tilt. Gluteal and thigh muscle bulk should appear equal on both the left and right sides. First picture shows normal. The second picture shows anterior pelvic tilt, and third picture shows posterior pelvic tilt. Anterior pelvic tilt describes as the position of pelvis when anterior superior iliac spine are positioned anterior to pubis, and posterior pelvic tilt is defined as position of pelvis when anterior superior iliac spine are positioned posterior to the pubis. Next, knee position. A line of gravity passes anterior to knee joint. Observe there should be neither flexion nor a hyperextension at this joint in standing. Ankle. The line of gravity passes anterior to ankle joint. Observe there should be normal dorsiflexion at the ankle. First picture shows a normal, second picture shows increased dorsiflexion, and third picture shows decreased dorsiflexion. Next, ideal posture alignment in anterior view. Observation. Head observation, the head should be facing forwards with no rotation and no lateral flexion. Head position so that nose falls in midline along with the manubrium, sternum and umbilicus. Next, shoulder. The shoulder should be approximately level, clavicles should be level. It is common for the shoulders of dominant hand to be slightly lower than the other. Arms. Observe the form and bulk of the arm and hand muscles comparing the left and right sides. Increased bulk indicates increased use of that limb. Decreased bulk indicates disuse. Next, lumbar spine. Observe the umbilicus should be central, not deviated to left or right. Pelvis. Observe anterior superior iliac spine should be level. Anterior superior iliac spine should be equidistant from the spine. First picture shows a normal posture, while the second picture shows a lateral pelvic tilt. Thighs. Observe femur should be straight and with no internal or external rotation. Thigh bulk should be equal on left and right sides. Knee and legs. Line of gravity passes between the knee, equidistant from medial femoral condyles. Observe knees should be level, patella should face forwards and be level. Tibia could be straight and leg bulk should be equal on the left and right legs. Ankle and feet. Observe medial malleoli should be level, feet should turn out from medial line. Malleoli should be symmetrical and feet should be parallel. Thank you.